Y'all, I am sitting here. Oh, having animals is so much fun. So we've got our Gallagher netting up for the meat chickens, but they're not quite at the size that we feel comfortable moving them outside. Well, when we got our laying hens, I don't know, maybe not this spring, but last spring, we ended up getting 3 roosters, and they're so beautiful that we haven't like gotten rid of them or anything like that. But at this point, we've got 3 roosters on, you know, not very many hens. And so our egg production is down. Like right now, we're just now starting to get like 3 eggs a day, but not what we were. And we know it's just because there's too many roosters. So last night, Nathan and Peyton, I'm telling you, she is a trooper. She will do things that I'm like, oh, I don't really want to do this. She's like, oh, I got it. And she gets in there and like, she's catching these roosters. It was like proud mama moment. And so they caught the roosters. I clipped the wings and we threw them into this pasture with the Gallagher netting, because we were just like, we've really got to get these roosters off these hens. And you know, we were just trying to figure out, are we going to try to get rid of them or what we were going to do? Well, last night I was looking out, my bedroom overlooks the garden and we can see this area, and I was like, oh my gosh, Nathan, all those roosters are gone. And he was like, what? I'm like, I'm telling you, they're all gone. Like, what even happened? So I come outside and they have jumped into the tree. So I don't know if I didn't do a good job clipping their wings or what, but they flew into the tree above the fencing and they roosted there. And we're like, well, goodness, let's hope they survive the night. Like, we've got a lot of, you know, predator problems. Well, sure enough, I come out this morning and we've got these free-range roosters just hanging out. And I was like, well, I be dang. And it was just this, like, you guys outsmarted me. Well, we leave the front door open to the chicken coop during the day. So that's how we go in and we let the chickens out. These roosters have made their way into the chicken coop, and now they're back in the back part of the chicken coop with the hens just hanging out. Like, they are like, oh, you thought you were gonna get me? I'll show you what. I can't wait to tell Nathan. I'm gonna be like, you're not gonna believe these stinking roosters. It's so funny. Like, they had the best life too. They were just like grazing on all this grass and free roam. No, they were not interested in that at all. Hey, little babies. Hey, I gotta get you guys some hay. So all of our rabbits are doing well. You guys have asked for an update on this, and I have just been so garden mode, plant salt mode, that I haven't even given you guys an update. So Coco's babies are all doing fine. We have them separated, 3 in one pen, 3 in another pen. She actually, I don't know if you guys remember, we had talked about Tanner, which was the tan buck. He kept hopping over and like would break the 2x4 to get in there with her, and it was really just becoming a problem. So we put him in a ground cage and we were just moving him on the grass every day. But we had suspected that he did still breed her before we moved her. And sure enough, this little mama, hi, she just had babies 2 days ago. Hi, it's okay. I'm not gonna mess with you. I'm not gonna mess. So we've got 8 beautiful, healthy babies in there. I'm not gonna mess with them. She just had them a couple days ago. We have looked at them and there were no stillborns, so everything was good there. I've just been trying to give her some space. Here's our other babies. Hi. Hi. What are y'all doing? I need to get you some hay. Huh? My goodness, these are cute. We're actually going to keep some. I'll explain to you guys why in just a second. What are you smelling, huh? Y'all are cute. So the rabbits are doing great for the most part. You guys know we had a rough patch there for our rabbits. There was even a minute where I told Nathan, I was like, I'm done. I am so just like, I'm over the whole rabbit situation. And he agreed that I could just kind of take a step back and he would kind of take on the role of tending to all the rabbits for a little bit, which was really just kind of a nice break. I was getting just really invested. So we had moved Tanner to a ground pen over here. I was in the greenhouse working the other day, and I hear Simba, our Great Pyrenees. He was just like kind of going crazy, and I heard this weird noise, and so I come out of, I need to sit down and tell you guys the story. It's a story. So I come out of the greenhouse, and Tanner, the tan buck, was just like flopping around, but I thought maybe he had gotten a leg stuck in the cage somehow. I'm gonna spare you guys the details. And so I come over here, and it looks as though he is having a seizure. That was really the only way, like just the things he was doing. I tried to get in there and like, I mean, it was, I'm sparing you guys details, but it was pretty intense, and it was just like, what is going on? It was so bizarre. And he died. It was like he had this crazy episode, and then he just, I watched him take his last breath and die. And I called Nathan. I was like, this is intense. I have no idea what's going on. There was also the question, like, I don't really want to, you know, dress him out when I'm not sure the cause of his death. And so it was just this random crazy thing. Our friends came over the other day who we got most of our rabbits from. Tanner in particular, we didn't. And she said there's some sort of like liver disease that can happen with rabbits and make them kind of spaz out like that and die. I have no idea. We ended up like, obviously not dressing him out. We just buried him. However, we may take one out of Coco's babies and keep them to breed. Also think that some family members are going to get some of our rabbits. So we're going to kind of shift down on the scale of the rabbits right now, just because we do have the meat chickens. We have a lot of protein, and right now I'd rather, if someone wants them as a pet, obviously I'm fine with that. I think that would, they're really sweet. We handle them a lot. We hold them a lot. And so we have some family members who may be getting some of them. And then we just have some friends who are wanting to get into meat rabbits. And so we may end up downscaling some and giving them some of them. But overall, they're doing really great. They're a lot easier to, I think, tend to right now this time of year as we're approaching spring. But Nathan and I just had that conversation, like, are they worth us keeping? Nathan really just enjoys tending to the rabbits. I think I've told you guys this before. It's just one of the sweetest things to me. He just comes out here and he'll pick all sorts of stuff from my garden and go give them. And June really, really loves them. So we make sure that she gets to interact with our doe, you know, Coco that we're breeding. That way they can be, you know, attached to some of them. And they are like our pets, really, since they always stay. But yeah, Coco had a litter, accidental litter. She had some COVID babies. And so we've agreed no more breeding right now. Thankfully though, she's such a good mama. Like, she was pulling her fur, and we kind of had suspected that she was bred. And then I came out here last week and I told Nathan, I was like, she is really big. Like, she definitely has babies. So we went ahead and put the nesting box in there. We kind of knew, we didn't know, you know, the dates for sure. And then we made sure she had hay in there, everything like that. When I came out here one day and she was just pulling fur and making her nest, and I told Nathan, I was like, I bet she's gonna have babies tonight. And sure enough, she did. And she's just such a wonderful mom. So yeah, 8 healthy babies. So yeah, that's the little update with the animals. Chickens are good, rabbits are good, roosters are silly. But we're not clear of our last frost date. We are not. However, we've got an entire week where it's supposed to be 79. The lows are supposed to be 50. And I'm itching to plant my garden. I'm trying not to. I am trying not to. I keep having this conversation with myself. I'm like, self, don't do this. But then I'm like, oh, but would it really hurt if I did? So last night I got out some pole beans and some cucumbers. And I think I'm gonna do it, guys. I think I'm going to direct sow some of these. We put up that arch trellis over there the other day. I did a video on how to build an arch trellis. And so I want to grow these cucumbers. I'm actually going to show you. Let me find a place to plop you guys down. So I got these seeds from Haas Tools, and I've never grown them before, and they just looked really cool. And so I've grown the Armenian cucumbers from Baker Creek before. Want to see that? And I really, really like these. I didn't grow them last year just because I don't think I had an available trellis. But Haas Tools makes this Armenian striped cucumber. and it just looks so pretty. And you guys know I like to grow food that looks pretty. So I think I'm going to put this on the new trellis that we put up. I kind of want to grow the Armenian cucumbers. However, we do eat fresh cucumbers. Primarily though, we are juicing our cucumbers. We do a lot of juicing in the spring and the summer. It's what we have like for breakfast or if we need a boost in the afternoon. So something comparable to like an English cucumber is what I'm trying to grow. I don't typically buy like the Boston pickling cucumbers to juice. I mean, you can, I just don't. So I'm thinking about going ahead and planting these. I even thought about planting this on one side of the trellis and then just the standard Armenian on the other side and just kind of let them overlap. I thought that would be really pretty. And then behind me, I've got my trellises for my beans. And so I have been going through trying to figure out what beans I want to plant. Now, beans thrive, I mean, they don't like it when it dips down really cold, but since the lowest that we're getting for like our 10-day forecast is 50, and I'm thinking about when I planted my beans last year. I planted my beans so premature. We actually had a frost, and I came out here with mason jars. So my bean sprouts were about this big, and I came out here with mason jars and covered them up and then put a bed sheet over them, and they survived. And so I thought, well, if they'll survive a frost, surely they'll survive if I plant them now. And so that's what I'm gonna do. I bought the Scarlet Runner bean. I grow this every single year. I'm gonna grow this again this year. Then I bought fava beans, which I've never grown before. My friend Natalie does. She lives in California. I actually helped her plant those. And I've just heard really good things about them. They're like a broad bean. And so I am gonna try and grow that one this year just because I never have. And then, so those are new varieties, not the Scarlet Runner bean. And then this Moon Shadow Hyanthus. Look at this really pretty purple bean. I'm gonna be growing this one that's new this year. I do just have your Blue Lake pole bean, your Kentucky Wonder pole bean. Those are ones that I'm gonna plant. I load these down a lot actually. And then this year, I took a break last year on growing my Chinese noodle beans. And I did that because when we had first grown, I'd first seen the Chinese noodle bean at Jessica's house, and just the wonder that took me over when I saw those was large. I mean, it was just beautiful. And so I grew them, but I didn't know how to properly cook them, and so a lot of them went to waste. But they are so magnificent to me and so beautiful that I was just determined that I'm gonna grow them again this year and find different ways. I have pickled them and canned them before, and those taste really good, but I am gonna just try to venture into more like recipes and uses for them. Typically this time of year, I really shift. Most of the spring and the summer, I'm just very much so plant-based, and so I try to grow things that have substance. I am eating a lot of beans, and so I try to grow things comparable to that. And yes, I eat a lot of spinaches and lettuces, but salads don't really fill me up, especially if I don't have a meat in them. I'll throw like, you know, chickpeas or black beans or something, and so this will be nice to throw in some sort of pea like that. Like I could see the noodle beans being like fillers and like fill me up. And so that's kind of what I'm thinking of when I plant the garden this time of year too. Like, what is going to actually like fill me up and have a lot of substance to it? And so those are things that, I don't know, I kind of think of. I really do enjoy growing like lettuces, and I'll have a bed that has cut and come agains. I've got the Greenstalk planted with a bunch, but those things, they just don't fill me up as much. I'm sure a lot of you guys can relate to. But I think I've got a little bit more of the bed back here to clean up. And then this will be completely cleaned to where I can plant it. And I think I've done convinced myself, just sitting here talking to y'all, that I was gonna do it. I'm getting kind of excited too. The one thing that always gets me in trouble when I come out here to plant the garden is figuring out, like I always plant and I don't really think through it properly. So I'm trying to figure out, this year I bought a different variety. It's a hybrid of the Tromboncino squash. I bought the seeds from Row 7 Seeds, and they just do these really cool crosses. And so Tromboncino, you guys know, I love very much. I have a really hard time selling it. In fact, I cannot sell it at all. So they did this cross to where it has the flavor and the shape of a Tromboncino, but it only gets to the size of like a really mature zucchini, and you cook it the same way. It's got that really good texture and flavor to it. They ended up crossing it to where it just didn't get as long or as big. And so I'm gonna be growing that this year, and it's gonna have a place on my trellis. And I feel like I want it to be center stage and be right here. So I could do the center cut squash here, and then I could do the cucumbers down there. And then obviously I'll put my beans on this trellis. So then that leaves me 2 trellises over here and that trellis. I could do the Chinese noodle beans on here. So pole beans, Chinese noodle beans, squash, cucumbers. What am I gonna put on here? We do eat a lot of beans, so I could just do the tromboncino on here. I don't know. Oh, so many questions. So many questions. All right, I'm doing it. I made the decision, I'm doing it. Okay, I know. And it even says when to plant. After your last frost. Do as I say, not as I do, guys. Okay, I think I'm just gonna plant some of the beans. So I want my Scarlet Runner beans, my fava beans, my Blue Lake Coal beans. All right, let's head over there. I'll show you guys how I plant them as well. I plant my beans really, really close together. I don't know, I find that it actually works pretty well for me. I get a massive bean harvest. So when I plant my beans, this is what I do. I am planting them, so I would plant one in between here, but typically I'm planting them right here, where you see the line. If you're doing a cattle panel or any type of panel, I'm gonna plant mine right there. And that's how I just space it out. And as you can see, it is really close together. Like, this is a lot. So maybe like right down here when they're even closer together, I'd skip that and just go over. But for the most part, I am planting these at the lines in my panels. I'm not ever labeling my beans either, because I can just tell by the variety, and I'm not ever selling my beans usually. Last year we had an abundance, so I ended up selling some, but I knew what they were too, so it wasn't that big of a deal. And now you can soak your bean seeds too. I know a lot of people do that. It will just make, germination and sprouting faster. I'm impatient, so I'm just gonna go ahead and plant them. Look how pretty this Scarlet Runner bean is though. I mean, that's so pretty. So y'all know, I love growing food. Like, it brings me so much joy. It's just what I feel called to do. But something you guys may or may not know about me, it's not that I intentionally don't talk about it, I just don't ever really talk about it. You guys have probably gathered that I'm a little bit of a hippie. And I'm just like, have always been very environmentally friendly, eco-friendly, really conscious of that. And some of the ways that we try to do our part and help, I guess, is like we've been plastic free for 7 years. So like we don't have any paper towels or paper plates. We don't do any plastic plates. We obviously use reusable shopping bags and things like that. And these are things that I've done for years. I've adopted these principles. Just kind of been, a way of life for me for a really long time. And, I don't ever try to push my opinion on this on anybody. It's just kind of my own personal convictions, and what I do doesn't mean it's the right thing to do or the way it has to be done. It's just some of the things that I do. But I think it's so funny too, because, I was dabbling into those things and becoming more like, I would make my own plastic wrap, with like organic, cotton and beeswax instead of using like, tinfoil or plastic wrap or something like that. And I had adopted these principles before I ever started growing food. And so it's so funny to me now, seeing how it all kind of comes full circle. And I would do these things because I was doing my part for the planet, and I still do those things, and I'm very passionate about that. But now it's like I am doing something on the total, kind of opposite end of this, but that also has a huge significance, a huge impact on my family directly. And also just changing the food system. You know, our food system is broken, and it really just like, it saddens me how broken it is. And knowing that like I am directly affecting that. I am directly having change. And sometimes, if I'm just being really transparent with you guys, I get overwhelmed and like, I need to be doing more. Like, am I doing enough? You know, like, how am I helping the environment? And then when I think about coming out here and like planting my own food, like, I'm having a direct impact. I'm having a direct change. That feels so stinking good, you guys. I can't even tell you. And so I want to encourage you guys, if you are growing your own food, if you are starting a garden, or if you're a beginner gardener and you're just thinking about it, do it, because you are having such a positive impact on the environment, on your family, directly on changing the food system. Like, it starts with each of us. And I really just feel that passion and that call that it really does just take one person to make a change. If enough of us each do our own part and make a change, we are making huge world change. And so sometimes I think, well, does what I'm doing matter? Is it really making a difference? And I'm like, absolutely it is. Like, what I'm doing makes a difference. What you guys are doing is making a difference. And Nathan and I, these are conversations. You guys are getting a little glimpse inside my head right now. These are conversations that Nathan and I have often about, you know, the impact we have on the environment and what we can do. And I truly believe that becoming more sustainable and growing your own food is one of the biggest things you can do, the biggest shift you can make. And it directly impacts you in a positive way. And my gosh, if that's not stinking cool, then I don't even know what is. Like, it just makes you feel good. Growing food makes you feel good, and it's making your body feel good, and it's making you perform well, and it's teaching you things, and it is stretching you and growing you. And I don't know, it's just, I could lift off all these wonderful things about growing food, and I'm like, man, more people should do this. Okay, one side done, one more to go. Whoa, these are pretty cool too. Check that out. Oh, wow, look at that cute little thing. All right, and just like that, I've planted stuff in the garden. I can't tell Nathan. It'll be a surprise. He'll come out here and be like, what? There's stuff sprouting. Anytime I get my seeds out, he's like, what are you doing? It's not time to plant yet. And I was like, I know. This will be our little secret. Let's hope he doesn't actually watch this video. I'm not telling you it's okay to hide things from your spouses, but if these actually sprout and do fine, he'll actually be happy with me, so it's kind of like a win-win. So it is actually starting to sprinkle. It's overcast, which is really nice. We don't have any heavy, you know, hard rainfall or anything, but nice little shower will be great. It'll water them in well. If it doesn't, I'll just go back through and water them. Certainly though, if you kind of want to get a jump start, if you're growing beans in particular, I would just probably soak them the night before. Years past, I don't recall doing that last year though. I don't think I soaked them, and they sprouted and they did just fine. I do think I'm gonna go ahead and plant these too. See, this says best direct seeded at about the time. It does not say at the time. This, thank you Baker Creek for giving me liberty. It is about around maybe a couple weeks off from the last frost. Okay, let's do this. Okay, let's plant this, and then I gotta put these seeds up or I'm gonna get in trouble. With my cucumbers, I certainly do not plant as close as I do with the beans. What I do is I am planting, well, I'll just show you. So I'll plant one at each end. So I'll plant one here, one down there, and then just kind of let them vine and overtake. And again, I am already starting to see so many pollinators out in the garden, which is really, really encouraging. So you could start these and transplant them. For me, I think maybe I've done that one year. These are just so easily direct sown that's just what I do. And so that's something that just to take into consideration, you know, if you're thinking about what to start, what to direct sow, whatever's gonna be easier. And these are typically, cucumbers are just really, really easy just to direct sow. So I'm just kind of breaking up the soil around here, loosening it up a bit. Just like that, I've planted food. Oh! Our friends came over the other day for a crawfish boil, and they asked if they could hide eggs for the kids, and I said sure. And then she told me, she's like, you might find some eggs. I'm the lucky winner. Oh, that's so funny. I'm sure I'll be finding eggs in my garden for a long time to come. Thank you guys so much for hanging out in the garden with me and checking on the animals and just doing farm stuff. You guys are just so awesome. So thank you guys. I'm gonna get inside before I end up getting in trouble and plant too many things I don't need to. But I'll talk to you guys soon.